it's Sia, and you're watching my exclusive Ask Anything chat for Saturday Night Online and Romeo. Okay, so let's see, we've got some questions here. Jake from Beeville asks, what's your favorite song on 1000 Forms of Fear? Good question. I think it's probably Chandelier or Straight for the Knife, maybe. Sometimes I like Fair Game too. And I also love Elastic Heart. I really fought for that to be a single because I loved it a lot. Okay, Nathan from Carrier Mills says, would you ever consider touring again in your career? Well, Nathan, I am considering it presently. And I might do next year a little tour, I'm thinking. All right, Ben from Sydney asks, what is your favorite song that you have ever written? I think probably Breathe Me because so many people told me it helped them in some way. And that's an old song, but it feels nice to be of service, and that is meaningful to me for that reason. Okay, Francisco or Francisco, I'm not sure. Francisco, I think, from Mexico. What was your idea or inspiration for Elastic Heart? Well, actually, the track came from Diplo. I was driving home, and I listened to it on the drive home, and I liked the track so much, I wrote to Diplo and said, don't give it to anyone else. I want this one. I've never done that before. I was like, do not give this to anybody else. And then I went in and I cut the vocal, and it's weird. The inspiration actually comes from the melody. So it's a tricky one to explain, but it sort of tells me what the song's going to be about. And I had heard someone say, oh, I've got thick skin and an elastic heart, and I wrote it down when they said it. So I guess they were the inspiration for this song. All right. Xenia from Brennan says, when did you start songwriting and what does it mean to you? I started when I was about 12. I remember I wrote a song about, it was about AIDS, and it was an international song because it had hello in about 5 different languages, and I'm not sure what I was trying to convey, but I know that it was like I had a political agenda at the time. But I started seriously again when I was 17. Okay, so Karen from San Diego asks, what was the concept behind your SNL performance of Alive? I mean, just have fun and be weird. That's usually the main sort of intention. So the concept behind it wasn't really a concept. It was just have fun, be weird. Sort of throw some things together that I was inspired by or have been inspired by and hope that it sticks. All right, Charlotte from Port Richmond. What was the inspiration behind the song Alive? Well, I actually was watching America's Next Top Model, and this kid called Keith from Cycle 21, I think, he talked about his life a little bit, and at the end of talking about how his life had been pretty tough, he said, but you know, I'm still breathing. And it made me want to cry, and I wrote it down, and then when I went into a session to write with Adele for her album, I was like, we got the chorus first, I'm still breathing, and then I'm alive. And then so we wrote the verses based on the kind of theory of a difficult life, you know, a difficult life growing up. So Keith, I guess, was the inspiration for that song. Ali from Sacramento asks, what was it like collaborating with The Weeknd on Elastic Heart before he made it big? He was big to me at the time. It was awesome. He's a sweetheart. He's a total sweetheart, and I love him. Michael from Kansas City says, do you have any hidden tattoos? I have a couple of embarrassing tattoos that I had that I got done when I was 17. They're kind of post-ironic now, but I'm not going to go into detail. It's a dolphin. Okay, Avery from Boston. Waffles or pancakes? Well, I guess I don't really eat either of those because I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm a pop star. When you're a pop star and you're naturally curvy and you're insecure because people take pictures of you all the time, sometimes you have to eliminate certain foods from your diet. So in my case, it's probably, I mean, if I'm lucky, it would be pancakes, gluten-free ones. Sad. Sad. There are lots of upsides, obviously, too. I don't want to paint myself as the victim. Maddie from Newcastle says, what are your biggest pet peeves? I guess superiority I find like pretty unpleasant. Meanness, superiority, slowness. Oh, that drives me crazy. Those are my pet peeves. That's enough, isn't it? 3. Okay, Cara from Philadelphia asks, do you use emojis when texting? What are some of your favorites? Yes, I do. Obviously the turd emoji is my number one favorite, and then I also use Bitmojis, and they're pretty accurate. I'm pretty impressed with the Bitmoji that I created for myself and my friends. I've created a few emojis, Bitmojis. Good times. I use the prayer hands a lot too. Although I'm not particularly religious, I do use those. It's like a gratitude. That's how I sort of use it, as gratitude. Um, Chris from Milwaukee says, you incorporate a lot of dance in your performances. Are you a dancer yourself? Well, Chris, the answer is yes. I like to really do a lot of silly dancing on my own. And I have never really had any lessons. I was expelled from ballet when I was 5 for being precocious. And but I never kind of lost my passion for silly dance, and actually I miss dancing because I don't go out anymore. And but I used to go out to like clubs and pubs all the time and just boogie down for hours like a freak. Destiny from Jamesville asks, how many dogs do you have now and what are their names? I have 3 dogs and they're all rescues, and I highly recommend rescuing dogs as opposed to buying them. And they're called Pantera, Lick Lick, and Cereal, and they're very nice people. Scott from Nashville says, what's the message behind the video for Alive? Oh, no message. Just was like thinking, what's another great thing I can do for like the little kids that watch videos, and like something that's not hypersexual and that's kind of strong and shows strength and discipline. And what I liked about making the videos with Maddie was that it showed little kids new ways to express themselves that weren't already established. It just sort of felt like it's free to be a weirdo, and I liked that. And so in this time, I wanted to do more representing of like young girls as strong and disciplined, and that was really when I found her online, that was really my impetus, was to just share more images of strong girls. That was kind of it. I'm going to do strong boys too, coming soon. All right, Kelly from Oceanside. What's the most beautiful place you've ever visited? Probably Thailand or Venice. Beautiful. It's crazy. Angela from Columbus. I love that you have taken your career and made it something more comfortable for yourself. Any advice for fellow creative people that are a little shy about putting themselves and their work out to the public? Well, it's tough because you kind of have to establish yourself as something before you can kind of stray from it. That's what somebody told me once, and sadly it's true. And it's hard to do things differently because there are a lot of traditional ways to become an entertainer. I mean, if you're an actor, you can't really get away with not showing your face. I mean, you can get away with not going to a lot of things like red carpet things, but that's a hard one. If you're a singer, I think you can get more creative, and I'm not the only one. Daft Punk doing it, and yeah, I guess maybe you actually could come up with something even like cooler than everybody if you sort of let yourself. Maybe, I don't know. I don't really have advice for people. I'm not much of an advice giver, more of a suggester. Anne from Portland. Were you nervous to be on SNL? I was nervous because I didn't want anyone to get confused about my political views, and I was very nervous that people were saying that I was partnering with Donald Trump on Twitter and stuff, and that made me feel really sad because I'm queer. I have lots of queer fans and lots of Mexican fans, and I would hate for them to think that I support Donald's political agenda. And so it was scary for me, but it turned out that it all worked out for the best in the end. I think it was good. I got to go on there and represent a different side of the world, and he got to go on there and represent his side of the world, and I guess that's free speech. All right, Christian from Wayne. I think you are amazing. What inspires your fashion sense, especially your facial accessories? Well, I like this girl called Man Repeller. Her real name is Leandra Medine, but she has a blog called Man Repeller, and I think she has a really fun style. I like her style. I used to be inspired by this Australian 80s icon called Maggie Tabberer, and also I was a fan of Jenny Key growing up. And now it's probably, I like classy women like Kate Blanchett and stuff like that. And the facial accessories, they spring. Me and my stylist, and my husband actually, are very collaborative. So we talk a lot about what we could do, what might be cool, and that's lucky. It's always nice to have support. Victor from Dallas says, "What do you like to do when you are not making music?" Watch television all the time. With the dogs, mostly reality TV. I have so much to thank reality TV for. Jeremy from Westchester says this. Oh, and I've started playing tennis. That's pretty fun too. Jeremy from Westchester says this latest album has so much more energy and reaches a completely new vocal level than you've ever recorded. What changed in you to produce an album like this? Well, nothing really. These are songs that I guess I wrote for pop radio, for other artists. And so my intention was to write, hits for the radio. And I guess that's the energy that you're hearing. And me personally, I haven't changed at all. But the reason it's called This Is Acting is because a lot of these were intended for other people and were intended to be on the radio. And in order to get on the radio, it's pretty hard to do a down tempo like a vibe. So there's a lot of up tempo stuff on this record for that reason, mainly because my intention was to write radio hits with a Z, hits. Okay, Lisa from Wilmington. What's the highest note you can belt up to? Oh, I don't even know. I know it's really high. I think it's the chandelier note. That's the highest I can go on the I think it's on dry. That's the highest one. But I actually don't know. I can't read or write music, so I wouldn't know what to call it. Nate from Miami. What advice would you give a teenage you? Oh, ask for help when you feel sad. That's what I probably would have said. Let's see. Oh, it's the end. Thanks again for watching my Ask Anything chat. Love the questions and thanks for your support. Farewell.